Okay, hey everybody, what's going on? It's your guy Chad 40K Chad Juice, the man with the juice to get you loose. And don't let the sweet taste fool you. This is a Saturday edition of the Good Brothers Committe podcast. I got a tongue tied. Um, of course, right here with my partner in crime, Mr. Preston Powell to the third Powell. That is Preston Powell the third.
There we go.
My guy,
How
my
everybody
guy.
doing today? It's always good to be back with my man Chad Ford from the Good Brothers Podcast. You know, as we always do, we always start the day with what we're smoking. I just lit up a GTO Hypnotic. It's part of the GTO series. They got a series of hypnotic cigars. They got the Sumatra. They got the 660. Um, has a little sweet tip on it, but it's not a sweet tip cigar. Dominican long filler. Really good smoke. Really good smooth mild smoke. We're pairing that today with a little bullet ride.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little bullet.
Right. Can't go wrong with a little bullet on a Saturday evening where you're relaxing before we have a big playoff Sunday coming up this weekend. So Tad, last week we talked a little bit about Ed Reed that dominated most of the podcast. And in that time, we've been talking over the whole week, and it seemed like all hell that broke loose at TCU with everything going on with Ed Reed. You know, of course, you had the firing, but that wasn't the end of it. You want to expound a little bit more what we know what's been going on since then?
Basically, what's been going on now is you got students speaking out about the issues with the infrastructure at Bethune-Cookman University. There are some conflicting reports of the conditions at Bethune-Cookman. So that's a lot of blurred lines. Again, I use that word, and a lot of dust in the air, if I can say that.
Basically, somebody was lying.
Yeah, it was a lot, really.
Well,
a lot.
Listen, I mean, it's a lot going on. I mean, one thing I know, one thing that we talked about, we in the last podcast when all this happened, is that I thought the school should have gave it should have disciplined him, but let him get something out of the deal since you've already went down that road. But I will say, after the activities of this last week and how Ed it seemed like he can't control himself, I see why if that's what he was doing behind the scenes, I see why he moved on. I mean, he had a good argument, but him not being able to control his behavior,
emotions.
Yeah, that's not leadership. And so, yeah, over the week he's proven me wrong to say like, hey, should have rolled with him. But I understand he's saying he's emotional for these kids, and the line I think got to him. I mean, the line, and I'm saying line. I know that's harsh, but if you've watched any of the Roland Martin interviews and you see some of the things, activities with the students, it's no doubt what went on.
Yeah,
That's there's no doubt whatsoever what's going on. I mean, I know we talked earlier today about the interview that the president had the former players come back and the old coach talk to the players, and the president in that interview said he had no idea that the kids had the share helmet. He had no idea that they didn't have a locker room or they were dealing with mold in their uniforms and helmets, stuff like that. Now, a couple of days earlier, he told Roland Martin, hey, none of that happened. That's not true. That they didn't have all this. That wasn't going on. The kids got a locker room. They got somewhere to shower. Now, that's what he said on that interview.
Okay then. Popeye to stop frying chicken too, huh?
Yeah, and and so then when you had the students come out and say like, no, this is the football players came, they did it. And like, no, this is our situation. This is what happened. And I think I literally just sent you a video of a guy that did it. What is it, like last year or 2 years ago? Showing them sharing helmets during the game.
Right. That's something we did in Pee Wee League, and we probably didn't do it in my Pee Wee League.
Right.
So for them not to have knowledge of what's going on, the necessities, the bare minimums. That come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Some of the milk ain't clean.
Well, I mean, look, if nothing else, if you didn't know, they're just showing gross negligence on your part. You're the president of the school. Ain't no way you didn't hear the rumors or the scuttlebutt that they're keeping their equipment in the shed. It rains in the shed. Now, here's the thing. I know they had the hurricane. Two hurricanes come through there. Being from Louisiana, believe me, I know how that is and how it takes a long time to recover. But that's when I say you face those issues head on. I mean, all of a sudden during that same interview, Reggie Theus says you would have new locker rooms and everything and showers and everything by August.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, it's going to be done in 4 or 5 months.
Right.
Well, let's say if that was the plan. I mentioned this to you earlier. If that was
Right.
the plan,
Right.
why didn't you tell them that like months ago? Like, hey guys, I know we've been struggling. I know we had a lot of things going on, but we got plans to have you guys a new shower, locker room, and equipment room. You'll have it for the summer next season. Now, nobody heard that till all this stuff went down.
Right. But now you want to do it. You probably had it on paper, but you had no intention to execute it. That's what it looked like. Now I could be
exactly
wrong.
what it looked like. Exactly what it looked like. I think out of all this, the administrator, as bad as Ed Reed has been in these interviews afterwards, showing all his emotions and stuff like that, I think the administration comes out looking entirely worse.
Right.
I mean, you can see their carelessness with the program. It is no way. Let's just say the hurricane hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
That first, month, we might be dealing with both. Or dealing with cleaning that place up. If nothing else, I guarantee you could have got the players to clean it up. All the players get together and say, man, let's clean this place up. Let's get it to be presentable for us. But there's no way you go through a season with all that. And see, what happened was that the problems of the football team has led to the campus and all its problems. They're saying, like, well, no, we're all dealing with this, and the administration is not addressing our concerns.
Right.
I mentioned,
and the thing about it is, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
But look, but here's the thing. I pick it back off you. So how long has this been going on? Now I've heard this not only for some months, but some years. So how long is this going on?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. I can't imagine when you get somebody to come in and you saw what went on at Jackson State. So you probably had the whole campus thinking that they were going to get a level of the Ed Reed effect. That maybe now that we got a prominent NFL Hall of Famer, just like Jackson State did, we would get some of those rewards of people coming in, seeing our plight and helping us. And then when the university summarily dismisses him for, I told you this earlier when me and you were talking about this. This day and age, you can't operate like you've operated in the past. Because these kids these days in school, not like when me and you were in college, they got too much access to information. They got way too much access. So they gonna find out. And they're gonna dig, and they have avenues for people to hear their concerns. So they get online and they sit there and get with their friends, and they're letting people know, like, hey, we're dealing with this, and this not being addressed. So you got these older administrators, they get up there and they'll say, well, no, I walk on campus every day. Everybody's happy. Well, you can't say that. You used to get away with that nowadays. You can't get away with that now. You can't sit there and say, because that's the thing that blows me away the most. And that's why I use the term live. I literally watched the first interview that president did. And he said the kids got somewhere to shower. There's no mold. They don't share helmets. He said all that. And then we're like, that's not true. It's just the internet making up stuff. Then you watch the video that BCU put out of him talking to the former players, saying like, well, this is the first time I've heard of this stuff. Now, I think you said it best. He says one or two things. Either he lying or he incompetent. And neither one of them good.
Right. So again, when does it stop? When does a cycle stop? When do we create a new cycle? Because again, I really feel like it's the battle between ego and intent. Is your ego more important than the true intent of the nature of your position? And that goes with presidents or administrations all across the board. What's your true underlying intent? You should thereby testify in the strongest manner possible of the work the sincerity of the work in which you are engaged. So that tells me something else. Are you mad because you're not in the limelight like the head coach is? You mad because you ain't the man or the woman? What's more important, self-preservation or getting something done?
That's true. Well, that leads to the other big news this week. The president of Jackson State did that no confidence
Oh
vote on the
man.
faculty.
Oh man.
So
Oh.
there's a lot of if you read the article, it talks about the way he runs the university, but there's a lot of scuttlebutt that some of the reasons that he's gotten that vote of no confidence that people watch his ego get out of control.
Right.
And his ego to the detriment of the school.
Right.
We ain't gonna say no names, but certain people he thought was getting more shine than him. And he just didn't like it. That's what they say. I don't know. That's allegedly what they say.
And there's some other things too that we won't get into, do some liability issues and privacy issues,
So it's just, but I think in this day, if I had to think of what's happening, we talked about this when we talked about LSU's, the Alabamas, and stuff like that. That you don't, those, when you're in those larger conferences, those presidents understand. I think you said something earlier about the football coaches. They're the most popular. They drive the money to the universities,
right?
And the presidents get that autonomy because of the football coaches drive all that money to the university. And I think now in this day and age with social media and things blowing up so fast, some of the HBCU administrations are gradually catching up to that. Because see, most of these big schools, they understand your image and the things you say and the things you do play a huge factor in the perception of your university. And you can't operate in this grand ego scheme where you the king and nobody can tell you nothing. Because they'll make sure quick you find out the emperor ain't got no clothes.
Right.
So I think you had mentioned that earlier, and I think that's a valid point. That a lot of these other schools they understand it.
Yeah, and again, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier in our discussions, especially right here on the Good Brothers Committe podcast. When you reach one plateau and you exceed it and you continuously to grow, because one thing about it, you got so many people outside of certain social context that talks about certain things, and Jackson State being one of them. The HBCU culture is another thing that's being talked about with a high frequency.
Right.
So you got to be prepared with that, but also it goes back to now. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Everybody like a little attention.
Right.
But all attention ain't good attention.
Right. All money ain't good money.
All money ain't good money.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta learn how to keep your domino.
Right. That's exactly right. Well, and I think they're slowly turning to this new age of information. I mean, there's too much information, and you can't operate the same as you operated in the past. There are too many eyes, too many ears on everything that's going on, and everybody now, as we are here with the Good Brothers podcast, everybody got an avenue to express a thought, a feeling, and create conversation. So if you're a leader of an organization, you always got to keep that in your mindset that, hey, what I do affects all aspects. And, I'm one of the guys, I believe in this. I treasure success more than I treasure notoriety.
Right.
So I don't have to be up front. I don't need to be up front. I'd rather win.
I'm the same way.
That even when I played basketball. If I score, if you tell me, Preston, man, you will only get the average 6 points a game, but you win championship. I take 6 points a game, win championship. Right. If you tell me, Preston, these dudes are better than you, you need to sit the bench, and we win championships. You just need pressure. I'm gonna sit the bench, win championship. Now, some people they'd rather lose if they ain't on the floor.
Of course.
I was never like that. I could take a back seat and never had to do it.
Right. Well,
I can take the back seat and win. Right. I'm fine with that.
I'm the same way.
I want to win, and that And I think a lot of the older administrators, they're not getting it. You let me be president of an organization or a school or something, and I'm able to catch lightning in a bottle one time. I'm gonna ride it like I'm Zorro.
And you supposed to, but
Right.
here's the thing. Now the old administrators, okay, Preston, watch this. And I just won't be subjective in this and say old administrators.
Right.
When a lot of people get their opportunity to be the quote unquote man or woman,
Right.
they got a point to prove. But sometimes proving a point is pointless. What's the point? You're in a position. You had vote of confidence. You got nominated, and they hired you for the position. Just do your job inside the parameters of your job description. And leave everything else at the door. Check your ego at the door, and just do the job. Get the job done.
Right. No, I mean you're 100% right on that. It doesn't. It's not rocket science. And this is like, even with the Jackson State situation, with the president getting the vote of not confidence, the Bethune-Cookman situation with, Ed Reed ain't going back there. I doubt Ed Reed ever be here. Yeah, he ain't going back there. Now, president said they're going to have a new coach in 10 days. They said they had a lot of people reach out to him, which I can see that. He want to help.
I can too.
I don't ever see Ed Reed being head coach nowhere.
He messed that up.
Yeah, he messed that up. I mean,
bad.
You were in the right, but that was the time you could have showed true leadership to advertise yourself for other schools. You already made the initial mistake.
Right.
You did the initial mistake, and you didn't learn nothing for it. You went after everybody. I mean, he was going after Shannon Sharp. Like you gotta. His whole argument against Shannon Sharp didn't make sense. Like you gotta have me on your show to tell you my point of view. And Shannon Sharp, he said Shannon Sharp texted him and said, "Hey, well, just tell me what's your point of view, and I'll try to relate that out there." No, I gotta be on there to do it. Hey, bro, the way you acting now, that ain't I can't have that. Then he tried to throw Prime under the bus. This is a whole fiasco.
It's bad, but now I could be wrong. I am a mental health counselor training. To me, it's so many narratives in this, and there's so many narratives being spun in this too. Now, don't get it twisted. But however, just because I think I can, don't really mean I can. But the point is that everybody's not a head coach. And watch this too. Just because you played the game, don't mean you coach the game.
Right. That's true.
Just because you played the game, I don't care what sport. It can be lacrosse. You could have been all world like Diego Maradona. Don't mean you can coach it. I played soccer from 6 to 16. I can't coach it.
Right.
I can assist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can give some pointers.
Right.
I can't coach it. I know my limitations, and that's something else. But the ultimate allegory is now you have a whole situation where it's the God complex versus the Savior complex.
And that's one of the things we want to talk about, the God complex. And maybe that'll be another podcast for another day, and we'll bring a guest on to talk about that with us. The God complex with our organizations, HBCU,
right?
Everything, any kind of leadership, our social organization, the God complex that one person is going to come in here and save everybody. And to speak on that, I think it's more about it's not as much about the individuals, it's about the expectations of everybody else. Right. This one person is going to save us all. That's
a savior complex.
Yeah.
The God complex is I can do everything. I'm doing all this. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
But hopefully in the future, these can be examples of what not to do. Because everything doesn't have to be aired out. Poem would have been, hey, have private conversations. Y'all be good.
Yeah, take care.
Have private conversations with the administrators and the players.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true. No, you're 100% true. You're 100% true. Well, look, we got only like a few minutes left here on the Good Brothers podcast. I think we're down to about 3 minutes left. What you got this weekend? This is gonna probably be uploaded after the games are over with, so we'll get to see who's right. So who you got this weekend? Kansas City, Cincinnati,
Uh,
Philly,
I
and
know what I said last podcast.
San
I think I'm
Francisco.
gonna change that
Uh-huh.
because someone brought up something very interesting. Now, my personal prediction, I'm looking at the Eagles and the Bengals. But what I like to see will be the Eagles and the Chiefs. Because why? You got two African American quarterbacks that can start in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great. And in fact, look, if I was betting money, which I'm probably gonna do, I would. I'm a Joe Burrow dude because I'm an LSU Tiger. But if I had to bet money, I would bet Kansas City Eagles Super Bowl. But my heart wants Cincinnati, San Francisco.
That's gonna be a good game. That'll be a good game.
Either way, we're gonna look for a good. We're looking for a good time for the Super Bowl. Well, as we run down the podcast, as we are here chilling on the hill Saturday, if you're in the city of Jackson, come out and hang out with us. As
Please
always, always good smoke, good drink, conversation. Because these conversations that we have on the Good Brothers podcast, they just continue around the bar all night long.
Right.
There's people giving their 2 At some point, once we get the channel and the podcast going, we'll have cameras in the building where you have a lot more people participating in the conversation as we go through this. Chad, you got anything else you want to sign out with?
Hey, man, as always, we thank you. We thank you for support. Please go to the YouTube channel, the Good Brothers Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you want to come on, please feel free to comment and come to the smoke shop and come sit in with us.
Coach just walked in.
Yeah, Coach. That's it. You Coach.
Yeah, we had a long conversation about this yesterday. But as Chad said, man, if you're in town, come on, chill out with us at the hill. With all that being said, grab you something to smoke, something to drink, relax. Remember, it's not a hobby, but a lifestyle.
That's right. Until next time, guys. We thank you.
Take care.
See you next time.